Hello, 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 hello. Ooh, goodness me. Hello. I believe we are. I believe we are live. I believe we are live and direct. Live and direct from the living room of me, Mitch Fredden. Crazy that. Okay. Right. Let's do it. Hello. How is everybody? How are we all doing? Welcome to the stream. I hope you're all having a lovely day, a lovely Monday afternoon, less than a day on, in fact, from Tottenham's 2-1 loss to Newcastle in the Premier League. First loss of the season. Very painful one, as I'm sure people in the chat will agree with me on. It is just... Ugh. Do you know that feeling you get when Tottenham lose a game, especially on a Sunday, and then you still haven't processed it by the time Monday morning rolls around? That is how I am feeling. I'm still not over it. I still feel annoyed and upset with everything that has happened and gone on. But I feel the need to do this live stream to talk about and break down the loss against Newcastle. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Obviously, if you guys are new around here, please feel free to follow, subscribe, like, whatever it may be. The league table is not looking good for Spurs. I read a stat actually recently that said Tottenham are about 10th in the league for their form over maybe like the last 8 months. And that is currently where Tottenham sit in the league at the moment, sitting 10th in the table now. Obviously, look, the ultimate thing and the main thing here is that Spurs are 3 games into their season. 4 points, obviously the draw against Leicester in the opening game, the win against Everton, and now the loss to Newcastle. Our horrible record at St James's Park continues, a place I hate going, I hate playing. But look, it is what it is. We lost. It happened. We have to move on. And it'll be interesting to break things down and see what we can dissect and find the reasons for why we lost the game. Because I thought we played well. I thought we dominated the ball, dominated possession, had more chances, had plenty of chances to score, but ultimately just weren't ruthless enough and weren't clinical enough in the final third to score the goals that we needed to win against a team like Newcastle. If you're going to go away to a top team like Newcastle, you have to be able to take your chances and you have to be able to score goals in the key moments. Otherwise, you're going to get punished, and that is literally exactly what happened for Tottenham in that trip to St James's Park. It just, it is what it is at the end of the day. But I want to break it down. I want to say hello to the guys that are in chat. Decision making in the final third of the pitch is just not good enough. Yeah, 100%. Just completely let us down. Too many missed chances. But I thought we bullied Newcastle for the majority of that game at St James's Park. Tough outcome. That's the hardest thing. And I think... Do you know what, Matthew? I think that is like the main reason why so many people are upset and annoyed at the result, because you play well. It's difficult. If you play a top team, let's say you go and you play like someone like Arsenal away or Man City away and you get battered from start to finish and then you end up losing the game 3 or 4-0 and you were just completely not good enough, not up to scratch, not up to the races, you can accept that. You can sit there and accept that. But when you play a game in which you were the better team and you have the better chances and you have the opportunity to score goals, but you don't take them, that is where you start to sort of draw issue, and that's where you have problems. And I think for me, that is where everybody got so annoyed at the Spurs game, is because he had the chances, he got into the positions in the final third, but we just ultimately weren't able to put them away. That for me is what the big problem is. And I want to break that down. I've got a load of screenshots together that I want to talk through and sort of analyse with you guys to get to the bottom of this, to get to the bottom of it. But, comments are flying in. Matty, how's it going, man? Why don't we play with one inverted fullback like City do, e.g. Porro inverted, Udogie filling in to make a back three? It would make us solid defensively. We just concede too much now. Romero's a 6, just not clinical enough, says Neil. I'm in saying Arnie Slot adjusted his tactics upon arriving in the Premier League, demonstrating a willingness to adapt. Similarly, Ange Postecoglou should consider doing the same. Yeah, 100%. I agree with these points. 100%. Absolutely. I think that is a very, very interesting point, because some managers across Europe will say that they won't adjust their tactics because they believe in a philosophy and they believe in a certain way of playing. And Ange Postecoglou, I think, is that type of manager. Whereas, okay, perhaps someone like Arnie Slot, I think Pep did it when he came over as well. They will adapt for the games that they play and against the teams that they play. That is that's the big difference, in my opinion. But it's a difficult one. I do want to sort of get into the nitty gritty of things, and I want to talk about some things with you guys. So let's break it down. Let's get into it. Do you think Solanke will score against Arsenal? I would love nothing more than for Dominic Solanke to score against Arsenal. I would be the happiest man on the planet at that point if that happened and we ended up winning the game. So let's see. Thought Dragson had a very good game. I love Romero, but has lapses of concentrations and we get punished. Yeah, and he was very rash with his pressing, I thought, yesterday, Romero. He came out of defence on 2 or 3 occasions and it left us with a gaping hole at the back, and ultimately that is where Newcastle's second goal came from. I don't like Slayton Romero because I think he's a world-class defender, but he was a little bit questionable yesterday. I have to say it. If Solanke played, he would have got a hat-trick. Quite possibly. I definitely think, Matty, that he would have scored. I definitely think Solanke would have been on the score sheet if he played yesterday. The chances were there for him. We just didn't have the right positioning and the right personnel in the final third, in my opinion, to make it count. But if we look at the game, if we start to sort of break it down and have a look, you can see here. Obviously, we know what the score was. We know who the goal scorers were. If you start with the momentum of the game, it shows, doesn't it? And I feel like the momentum of these games have been really, really similar in the games that we've dropped points in so far. So against Leicester and then again against Newcastle yesterday. Newcastle inevitably started off a stronger team. I think we probably all could have expected that. I think we all could have expected that Spurs were going to be on the back foot for the opening 5-10 minutes of the game. Newcastle at home, they just come off the back of a really big win against sort of Nottingham Forest in the Carabao Cup, and I think in that respect it was fine to just sort of see that out and ride that wave out, and I think we did that quite well. Obviously, the officials having problems on the sideline changed that. Newcastle had a bit more of a spell there, but then if you look from the 20th minute here, 20th minute down to almost full time, Spurs have pretty much all of the momentum apart from where they scored their goal. Apart from that, so Spurs had all of the momentum in the game, and it was just so frustrating to see the 2 spikes in the momentum graph here that showed what happened and showed where Newcastle got their goals from. So it's so painful to look back upon and have a look at, but after that stoppage in play, Tottenham on top, Newcastle score the goal. Classic sort of Tottenham style, isn't it? You dominate, Harvey Barnes scores, we're 1-0 down, we're on the back foot. Brilliant start, amazing. And then, from the 40th minute, all the way through until the 75th, until the final 15, all Tottenham. All Tottenham in terms of possession, all Tottenham in terms of chance creation. Newcastle were camped in their own half Tottenham completely on top of them, but you still had the sense that they were relatively comfortable with how they were defending. You still had the sense that it was going to take something really, really special for Tottenham to score. And in the end, we relied on a bit of luck with Dan Burns' own goal. It was obviously good player down that side from Brennan Johnson, who, by the way, I thought Brennan Johnson was brilliant coming off the bench. And we've said this before. Brennan Johnson off the bench is much better than Brennan Johnson when he starts. So, it's so frustrating when you look back on it and you see that you actually played well. You dominated away from home at one of the toughest grounds to go to in the Premier League in St James's Park, but there was nothing out of it. I'm not panicking. I'm not saying that we've fallen apart and everything has gone to pot now, because I don't think that it has. But you have to be picking up points in these types of games if you want to challenge for the top four and you want to challenge the teams that finished above us last season, if you get where I'm coming from. Johnson played amazing. If Son laid it to him, Brennan would have scored. And if Son got a leg to Brennan's cross, another goal. Brennan Johnson did what Ange told him to and Sonny not. I don't think we would have conceded that goal if we had Van de Ven. 100%. And I'll show you the screenshot I've got of that and why I reckon we would have not conceded if Van de Ven was playing in the game as well. 100%. Spurs fans need to chill out. If we finished our chances, we would all be wetting our pants with how good we are. We wouldn't even be caring about the defending. Yeah, and I agree with that as well. 100% agree with that. If we'd have finished our chances, obviously it's a different game. We didn't, though. That's the painful bit. That is the painful bit. Johnson twice had the chance to play an early cross into Son on the counter-attack and took too many touches. Definitely made a positive impact when he came on, though. Agree, 100% agree. Brennan Johnson, I thought, was really good when he came on. Ange knew we would be deep, so plan equals lots of shots. I mean, I saw a stat that said Pedro Porro had the most shots for a defender in the Premier League since João Cancelo in 2019 or something. It was 6 shots. 6 shots, but obviously none of them going in, which is the painful thing. Johnson, man of the match. Yeah, can see that for sure. Porro had a very good game. Bentancur is Tottenham's best player. That's why they lost. The Ange abuse is out of hand. Matty, 100% agree with that. Ange Postecoglou getting abused and people saying Ange out. I cannot entertain those shouts at all. Cannot entertain them. Not even slightly. Horrible take. I'm not having that. But look, I wanna go through the screenshots. I want to go through the screenshots with you guys because I really want to talk about and highlight the problems that Tottenham had yesterday. And there were a lot of problems. So I'm gonna move my camera up into the corner here just so we can see the pictures here a little bit clearer. I've taken these off the Match of the Day analysis because I thought the Match of the Day analysis was actually really good in how they broke things down and talked about how Newcastle won the game and why Tottenham obviously were a bit of a mess when it came to performing in the final third. So this first image here, right, is typical. So this has just come from Kulusevski here, trying to get on the end of a through ball, is shielded out by the goalkeeper. You can see, I think it's Dan Burn there, is actually saying to Nick Pope to relax, calm down. But Nick Pope's thinking, he's probably seen this here. You've got our defences here, the ones highlighted. So you've got Pedro Porro and Udogie sitting up and narrow inside of Romero and Dragusin here. Nick Pope's thinking, I'm going to absolutely leather this ball over the top and there's a chance that the boys are in behind. And that's literally... it worked so well, those spaces in behind the fullbacks. All it takes is for someone like Nick Pope, who has a decent kick on him, to be able to pump that over the top and you're in behind spaces and all of a sudden you're relying on the 2 centre-backs to bail you out. Obviously, the big thing here for us is instead of Dragusin, you want Van de Ven, and Van de Ven can probably cover these 2 off with his pace. And that's a big part of how Ange Postecoglou likes to play and the system that he likes to play. So for me, that is a huge factor as to why perhaps they were getting those chances in behind us during the game yesterday. Besides 30 minutes in the second half of Leicester, we've dominated the play in every game. Need Solanke and more clinical efficient. 100% Solanke. I'm really, really hoping Solanke is going to be key. He's going to be the difference maker when he eventually comes back. Udogie needs to put the same on output going forward as Pedro Porro does. Yeah, I actually don't think Udogie's too bad going forward. I think he gets in some really, really good positions. He's going to be more of an assist maker as opposed to a goal scorer, I think, this season. And he did it quite well last season as well. For me, that's the big thing. That's the big thing, is the fullbacks. They are the difference between us scoring the goals and us conceding the goals. They have such important positions in Ange's system. So, really, really frustrating, and it's just annoying, isn't it? Our only goal we scored was Porro to Romero. Our defenders are our best players. Yeah, but people will still find a way to slate the defenders, and I completely disagree with it. I think that people were moaning at Romero again yesterday. I think he's just trying to make things happen in the final third. He's a frustrated player who was trying to go out of his way to make things happen in the final third. That's why he goes on those insane runs with the pressing. And it's just, we get caught out because we can't cover him in behind properly. My question to the Ange out crowd is, if you could sack him tomorrow, who do you replace him with? Never an answer, I'd be curious to see who they would want. There isn't anyone. We, as Tottenham fans, I think we can sit here and say right now that the managers and changing managers isn't going to solve anything, because let's go back, right? When we sacked Poch, we went through him for like fire. Obviously, Mourinho, Conte, and Nuno. It doesn't work like that. And for me, out of the managers that we've had since Pochettino was sacked, Ange is the manager that has got me most excited about Tottenham, and particularly the football that we play. The attacking brand, the aggressive pressing, wanting to be on the front foot all the time. Mourinho didn't get me feeling like that. Conte didn't get me feeling like that. I get they were there for different reasons. They were win-now managers. Ange isn't. Ange is trying to build something with us. And I think that he's going the sort of right way about it. So it's who is out there? Pochettino? No, he's not even out there anymore either. He's going to manage the USA. Thomas Tuchel? Like, come on. It's silly. It's silly in my opinion. In my opinion, it's silly. But, we need a backup left centre-back. Do you think we will eventually look for a Van de Ven type defender to replace Romero? I think it very much depends on Romero's future, doesn't it? As long as Romero's at the club, Romero's going to play, rightfully so. If Romero does, for some reason, head off to Madrid or somewhere else next season, then yes, I think Ange does love that pace at the back. Romero's not slow though. Let's give him his flowers. He's not slow at all. So yeah, very, very interesting. But we need another centre back for sure. Left-sided centre back that can cover at left back as well. We saw it with Dragusin yesterday. I felt quite bad for him because I think he played well, Dragusin, but he was just unfortunately not too used to the system, and he was dropping quite deep, whereas we love to play that high line. And it was keeping them on side a lot, and they were getting him behind because of it. David Moyes, Gareth Southgate. No, thank you, guys. I'd rather be managerless, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. So this screenshot here is like a perfect example of Romero is the one that's just in front of Harvey Barnes here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Romero is the example here. This is him here. He is just... So this is for their first goal. Romero's come charging out. He's come charging out to try and win the ball. Has failed to win the ball. They've got a throw-in, taking it quickly. Romero's not busting a gut to get back, by the way, and he does need criticising for that because he did just sort of trot back into the box. He wasn't... But I guess you look at it, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders across the line here still. 1, 2, 3 Newcastle players. He's probably expecting people to perhaps come cover for him, albeit, right, the finish from Harvey Barnes is really good. It's a really good finish from Harvey Barnes, but he's come out of position, and then I think you've got Basuma is covering for him in centre back, and he's just not a centre back, is he? He's not a defender, and then Harvey Barnes gets on the end of it and gets the finish in, which, you know, and all of a sudden we're on the back foot, and this is after we've come into the game, we've withstood their early pressure, and then we throw it away like that. So, you know, we'll see, but I did think Udogie and Odegaard were slightly underwhelming. Part of me wants to say that Odegaard's still trying to get back up to full fitness after missing pre-season and having that injury, so I'm very willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I actually thought Udogie played better than Pedro Porro yesterday. That's my personal opinion. But as well as that, Odegaard, again, he was okay. It's difficult for him. Again, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because you chuck him into a away game against Newcastle. I think it's always going to be a bit of a struggle. I do just think he's always going to have a little bit of a struggle. But the chance that he misses, I know which one you're talking about, Neil. He has to score. He's sort of gone for it with his leg, which is so weird. He should just be going with his head, and it's an easy header into an empty net at the back post. But yeah, it was a weird decision from him. But I agree, definitely has to be scoring. It was a silly / naive challenge from Udogie. It led to the free kick, which they won the throw-in, which led to a goal. Yeah, I get that series of events. I get it, and I agree. I do agree with that, but you know, it's frustrating, isn't it? But it happened. This here is, I don't think this is their goal, but this is our issue, right? This is a big issue for us. We've obviously gone on the attack here. We haven't made it count. We lose the ball, and with how high we are, not a single one of our players in our own half. So, in that sense, all Isaac has to do here is make sure he stays in his own half when this ball is played, and he's in over the top. I think this is the chance where the ball went over the top, Isaac drove in, and Dragosan put in that really, really amazing last-ditch tackle. But it's so easy. They're playing this from their own half. Ball over the top, and it's just a straight run. It's just a straight line in towards the Tottenham box. And for me, that's a big issue. I understand playing high. I completely get it, and I know a lot of other teams do it as well. But we're just so open at the back. You've got a 3-on-2 at the back here, which for me, I don't think we should be having either. But if Isaac gets in behind these two defenders here, you've also got Harvey Barnes or Gordon, whoever it may be, chasing in, and it's pretty much almost exactly how they scored their second goal in a similar instance here. All it would take is a ball across the box. Isak goes for goal this time, luckily. But it's just annoying, isn't it? It's just frustrating. You know, that's why some fans were saying, although it's well and good buying young prospects, there needs to be a balance, and we certainly are missing a clutch, experienced winger. This is the game we needed Van de Ven to chase Isaac and Gordon, and we needed Solanke to finish those crosses from Johnson into the box, 100%. Neil says, how do we fix this issue? Well, I think the main thing, Neil, is we score our goals and we take our chances. If we score goals and we take our chances in the final third, we have to worry about this less. And I genuinely do think that's Ange Postecoglou's thinking. But, okay, the big thing for me here, if you want to try and break it down, I would suggest looking at the midfielders in the middle here. If you look at the midfielders in the middle here, there's no protection in front of the defence. So it's very easy then for them to either play through the middle. Look, you can see here, I think he's pointing to want it into that gap there. But also, some systems, you could argue, should have a number 6 that just sits in front of the defenders. I'm pointing at my screen like you can see me pointing at my screen, sorry, but where the mouse is, it's almost like you could have a defender or midfielder here. If you put the midfielder here and then say push Kulusevski or Sarr on still, that provides that extra little bit of cover, that extra little bit of protection. But having said that, bear in mind where the ball is here. You've still got three players surrounding that ball here. He's still able to get the ball down the line and away and over the top. So there's a lot of different things you could change. You could change the positioning of the midfielders. Ultimately, you have to close them down quickly and you can't let them get that ball over the top. Ange will have been fully aware that they love to play in behind. They rely on the pace of the front three of Gordon, Barnes and Isak. That's where their goal threat is, naturally. We know that. Ange will have said, you cannot let them get those long balls off over the top. And we did in instances, especially on their touch lines. It goes over the top, they're in. And it's as easy as that. We have to wait, we have to build up, we have to play, we have to be patient. And then ultimately we don't take the chance. And that's why Newcastle won the game, because they were able to do this in 2-3 passes. And they're in, they're away. That's what's so frustrating, is because you dominate, you create the chances, you try and create the spaces with your movements and your passes, and then you're undone so easily by this. It's frustrating. It's too easy for teams to counter-attack us, like Matty says. Too easy. Chase, Isak, yeah. I think we all agree we will be different / more effective in our attacking with Solanke on the pitch. A bully in the 18-yard box and aerially very good too. Yeah, Sneaky Dog, I do want to talk about this because I tweeted it out. I fully agree with Solanke on the pitch. It's a completely different game. He has more of a presence in the final third. His movement's really good. He's that complete forward, isn't he? That complete striker. If he's on the pitch, 100%. We score more than one goal in that game. I'm adamant of that. Do you think teams are maybe finding us out? I don't necessarily think it's a case of finding us out. I think it's just so easy to play against the system, especially against maybe more direct teams like Newcastle, who are a direct team. We saw that yesterday. For teams like that, it's perfect. Against teams that are more technical, let's say against... Let's use Fulham or Bournemouth as an example of maybe like a lower down team that really rely on their system and the technical aspects of their game. They love to keep the ball. They love to pass around with it. Newcastle are like Bournemouth and Fulham are like that. They will struggle against us because we will combat them with our system. We will suffocate them, and they don't necessarily like to go long. If any of you guys watched Match of the Day and Southampton and the way that they played at the weekend, we'll have a field day against Southampton because they refuse to go long. Russell Martin is so adamant of getting them to play forward and play out from the back. Against systems like that, that's where we thrive. That is 100% where we thrive, in systems like that. But against Newcastle, it's more of a struggle. Way more of a struggle. But yeah. Hatmandu saying, just subscribe to you from Australia. I'm enjoying your analysis quiz. Thank you. Appreciate it a lot, man. Thank you for coming along. Thanks for getting involved in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. I do appreciate every single one of you. And you guys know I love doing these analyses and chatting to you guys about the game. Van der Ven would have got the ball. Yeah, again, Solanke and Van der Ven, they're the two differentials, aren't they? But Newcastle had a lot of injuries and a lot of players missing as well. So it counters out, doesn't it? TJ saying, why are we spending millions on players that aren't intended to immediately improve us? I think that's just the modern game, mate. I think that's just the way modern football works, is that we buy for the future. A lot of teams do it. It's so difficult, and unfortunately with the way that football clubs are run, if you buy for the here and now, depending on their age, they don't hold as much value when you eventually want to get rid of them. And as much as I hate it, that's how football works, unfortunately, and it's a bit crap. It's a bit crapped. I love the way we played, putting the pressure on them in the second half, but we just couldn't get the job done. If you look at the after-match stats, it doesn't reflect a 2-1 defeat. Yeah, and the XG suggests that we just weren't creating enough clear-cut chances. That was the issue. Nick Pope had to make a few good saves, but they were mostly in and around the edge of the box, and that's the big problem, isn't it? I think. Would it be worth Spurs? Sorry, Matty. You should cover Ben Bowman, see Martin or Spurs Unwrapped. Your 4 channels is great. Yeah, they're all brilliant content creators. I'm sure we'll get something planned in the future. Would be more than happy to do some work with them for sure. Would it be worth Spurs buying a centre-back and playing him as a DM? I see where you're coming from with that point, Neil. It's a very technical role to play. If you see how Basuma plays in that role for us now, you have to be so technical. And if you're buying a centre-back, putting them in that role, it's so difficult. It's like, I've seen people saying Romero should play in defensive midfield, but I just don't think he's technical enough. I don't think he can turn under pressure and beat the pressure. I think the ball could probably get nicked off him a bit too easy, which is where it's maybe a little bit difficult for that. Would it be worth Spurs buying a centre... is Davis a good enough backup? No. Simple answer for me. No. Especially not with his pace, which he doesn't have. I think... I was so happy when I saw Devine on the bench. Yeah, we see him all in pre-season, don't we? And then we just haven't seen them. We haven't seen them elsewhere, which is a shame. Big shame, really. We haven't seen him in the Premier League so far. Mikey Moore, Alfie Devine, Will Lancashire. I know Will's injured, of course. It'll be interesting to see if we take up the option for Johnny Cardoso as a CDM in those types of games. Yeah, again, but why not just do it now? Why not go for him this summer? Why wait until next year? You know, so it's a very interesting one, Callum. If we'd have scored the 5th min, we would have gone to win 5-0, or even if we scored another, we came back, could have been 4-1. Yeah, again, just game of differentials, isn't it? But yeah, let's move on. This is the Newcastle second goal. This is the Newcastle second goal. I will get on to Spurs, by the way, and the Spurs analysis. I do want to talk about Spurs and what went wrong with us, but this is the last one on Newcastle. Basically, it's the same as what we just saw in the last picture. James Maddison's gone to press Joe Linton here. He hasn't won the ball. Joe Linton spun him. And in that sense, we've got our entire line here, trying to play the offside, not doing it very well. Look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on 4 for Joe Linton to pick the pass out of. He could go with any of them. Picks the one up here. It goes obviously in that sense. And it's an easy tap across for Isak to score. Easy tap in. And you can see again, I think this is Romero struggling to get back again. Romero struggling to get back. 20 yards behind where the ball is at this point. Ball comes across. Isak, easiest goal of his career. Easiest goal of his life. But yeah, just opened up way too easily. 2 or 3 passes every single time is all it takes. All it takes to open us up. But I want to talk about Tottenham. And I said this in my initial match reaction video on the channel, so if you haven't watched that, feel free to go and watch that after this game. The decision making in the final third from Tottenham was way, way, way off. Look at this still frame, right? Look at this position. Sonny's got the ball, right? He's highlighted here. Sonny's got the ball. He's got 3 options maybe here. Brennan Johnson, all he has to do is lay it into that gap. Brennan Johnson hits it first time. It's a shot on target. Whether Nick Pope saves it or not is a completely different question and a completely different conversation. Or you go left out here to James Maddison. Newcastle defenders not even aware here. Not even aware that James Maddison's coming in behind here. You play it out where you left. Sonny can play either of those balls, by the way. There's no excuses for him to not make those balls. So you could do either. And then you've got a free shot at goal without any pressure or any defenders being able to close you down. Sonny shoots. Son shoots from this position with 2 defenders stood in front of him and the goalkeeper to beat. Was just completely the wrong decision to make. And that is what is so frustrating. That's our captain. That's our most experienced players. He knows. I don't know if it was just a selfish streak here from him, or I don't know what's going through his head, but he knows that he's got those 2 players either side of him, and he chooses not to use either of them. So frustrating. And then again here, right? Oh man, let's just sit and look at this. look at this image here. Because, mate, I mean, come on. Brennan Johnson has drawn 3 defenders out to him, right? He's drawn 3 defenders out to him, and he's getting the cross in on goal. He gets the cross in on goal. Who's there? Who is here? Who's here? Who's in this space? No one. No one is here in this space. Do you know how frustrating that is? What is Sonny dropping off onto the edge of the box here for? Does somebody want to explain it to me? Why is Sonny not busting a gut? He's got his man here. He looks like he's stopping. All he has to do is make that run either across him or probably even behind him and the ball gets to him. And it's a tap-in. It's a tap-in for him and it's a goal. Kulusevski should arguably be getting into the box as well. He's trying to back him up. Brennan Johnson played really, really well, in my opinion, when he came on, right? He played really well. He got himself into the positions. I think he had Kelly on toast, and then Lewis Hall came on, and I think he beat him quite a few times as well. Why have we not got more players busting their absolute guts to get into the box and get on the end of this? Kulusevski should know that Brennan Johnson is going to try and go past his man, and more than likely beat his man here. Get in the box, make yourself an option. Callum's just made a massive point that I was about to mention. What's Timo? Timo, man, where are you? Why is he so far back? Why is Timo Werner not with his fullback at least or in the box? Do you know how crazy that is? That you've not got any options there. And it's, man, it just, that picture right there for me summed up Tottenham's entire afternoon in the final third. Nothing available. Because Brennan Johnson has done the right thing here. He's beaten his winger, he's beaten his man, gone down the touchline and looked to get it in the box. That is Ange Postecoglou football right there. That is Ange Postecoglou football. All day long. Get it into the box, your striker will put it in the back of the net. 1, 2, 3 players. None of them are in a good goal-scoring position. Like, do you know how frustrating that is, man? Sorry, I'm just catching up on your comments. We played a much better defensive match than our last 2 against Newcastle. That's encouraging. Yeah, agree, 100%. Do you think Ange would be showing the players these clips and asking the questions as to why the decision made? 100%, Neil. Has to. They have to look back on this. They have to analyse this. And they have to rectify it. No excuses. No excuses. This makes the Arsenal game so important, for sure. Because all of a sudden, if we lose to Arsenal after international break, it's 2 losses from our first 4 games. 1 win and 1 draw. It doesn't look great, does it? So, you know. TJ saying, I'm aware that clubs buy for future. Difference is those teams also buy players that improve the first team. So what other big clubs spend their whole budget on unproven potential? Yeah, TJ, I completely get where you're coming from. I'm not even convinced that we spent our whole budget. You know, we made a decent amount from cutting wage bills. We cut 32 million alone just from getting players off the books and getting rid of their wages. That is the frustrating thing. And then a few player sales as well. Obviously, Oliver Skip, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg as well going, and a few others as well. That's the frustrating thing, for sure. Sonny needs to make the run. Look how far back Werner is. Solanke, come back. Yes, please. If he's not available for the Arsenal game, it's ropes. End the season. I'm absolutely frustrated that Richie sits on the bench injured and Solanke has to sit out. We need another number 9. I think we'll be looking probably, Alexis, to swap Richarlison for someone next summer. I would imagine that's probably on Ange's list. I can't see Richarlison being at the club longer than next summer, personally. Have we, appreciate the kind words, mate, have we progressed slightly since last season and the season before versus Newcastle? Normally when we concede 5+. However, this time we actually brought it back and unlucky not to score. Now, I really, really appreciate that it probably has sounded quite negative and frustrating, this live stream. Ultimately, Matty's just made a really, really good point that it was an improvement on the last time we went to St James's Park. We did dominate the game. We were on top of them. We had the chances. We just couldn't convert the goals. Ultimately, I think it's an improvement. Ultimately, I think Ange Postecoglou has improved us and has improved a lot of the players in our squad. We are playing better football. We are playing more attractive football. For me, right now, that is the most important thing 3 games into a season right now. I would rather not get the results earlier in the season, in the first 5, 6, 7 games. I'd rather not get the results in these games than towards the back end of last season. If it takes 5 games for us to get up to speed, to cut out and improve the decision making and get the sharpness to the level where it needs to be, okay, I can accept that. I can get on board with that. What I can't accept is this being a theme across the entire season. Against Arsenal after the international break, we're not going to have as many chances. So when they come, we have to take them. We simply have to take them. And if we don't, we'll get punished again, and probably more so against Arsenal than we did against Liverpool. So, it's we were tactically better, as you say, Anchal. But the decision making and awareness has to improve. Absolutely. Again, I think this might be the last. Yeah, that's the last picture that I've got. And then I want to just focus on a few tweets that I picked up reflecting on the game, but before we finish. But again, decision making. I think Kulusevski here in this one, he simply just carries on running and gets tackled and loses the ball. Rather than plays Johnson in here, he could even switch. You've got an overload over here with Bergvall and Udogie both making that run down the left-hand side. So you've got options, or even, if you want, you could try and curl it round that corner to Son or Werner. Options. They're there. We have them. But they're not making the right decisions again. And we end up losing the ball. It's so frustrating because we caught them out so many times in Newcastle. We got in such good positions and we just couldn't make it count. Havertz a reverse on last season. Rubbish first 10 games and amazing last 28 games. I'd take it. Because really, guys, you forget about the start of the season quite quickly. Because the season's so long. When you get into these next few months and we're playing every week or twice a week, you forget about these early games. You get about these. It's an interesting one. But it's a very, very interesting one, and we'll see how we go in the next few games, I guess. But I wanna talk about some tweets that I saw. I put this out this morning. People give me mixed reactions, very mixed reactions. Should have given Will Lancashire a chance off bench. I think he's injured at the moment. I think he's got a hamstring injury. Johnson would have scored there if he got the pass. You'd hope. You'd hope, for sure. Apologies. My throat was getting a little bit dry. So, for me here, it's a very, very interesting stat that I've picked out, in my opinion. And that is that we are creating the chances. 7 big chances missed so far across 3 games. 7 big chances, that's a lot. Obviously, as you can see, only Liverpool and Manchester United have missed more big chances. The difference being Man United are god awful. 2 goals. Crazy. But we've still scored 6. Okay, yes, 4 of them came against Everton. But you still scored them. But we're getting the chances. 7 big chances missed across 3 games is a lot. It's a lot. And it needs to change. I think people are a bit annoyed about it. Our front line's rubbish. We didn't have problems creating chances last season. It all links back to Solanke, really, doesn't it? All links back to Solanke, but is what it is. Very interesting point from Andy Hinchcliffe on Brennan Johnson in this game. He says the pace of Johnson gets him away. It's just his teammates can't keep up with him, can't get into the 6-yard box to get on the end of the cross. It's fair to say Brennan Johnson's been Tottenham's best player and he only played half the match. What do we make of that? What do we think? I like that quote, and I think he has a good point. I think Brennan Johnson is very quick, and he does cross quite early a lot of the time. He crosses quite early. But maybe, is that a reason why we're not scoring the goals and not getting into the positions and not taking those chances? Because Brendan Johnson is just too quick? Or should we be reading and anticipating it a little bit more and a little bit better? Perhaps we should. I absolutely agree. It was important to win the Leicester game because then Europe will come and cup competitions come more games, for sure. The players need to be more clinical in those moments. Playing such an aggressive yet unforgiving system, knowing our vulnerabilities, can become majorly exposed. Either passes back or crosses early. Werner should be quick enough. Son and Werner should be able to keep up. Yeah, agree. Definitely on side with you guys there, for sure. I think that is very true. They should be quick enough to keep up with him. There's no excuses. If Brendan Johnson can do it, you have to anticipate and you have to be in the right positions. 2 matches so far without a number 9 is maddening. Let's just hope everybody's fit after the international break. Mickey van der Ven has, I believe, withdrawn from the Dutch squad for the upcoming international to focus on being fit. Brilliant. Solanke obviously wasn't called up for England as well, so he can focus on being fit over the 2-week break as well. Adam Smithy says here, which again is really interesting, Spurs have absolutely dominated both away games in the Premier League, had 35 shots, an average of 69% possession, but only have 1 point to show for it. That's the killer. That's the killer, isn't it? Domination, but with no bite, with no end product, with no goal scoring ability, no clinical players about for it. Horrid, isn't it? Absolutely horrid. Like Solanke was going to get called up. Well, I would argue that Solanke should have gone to the Euros, personally. He scored his 4th top goal scorer in the Premier League last season. Odegaard can also keep up, for sure. Brennan is the perfect winger for Ange's system. He needs that poacher in the box to finish the move. I have high hopes for Solanke. He was good again in the right spots for Bournemouth. I think, based on your guys' comments and what I've read on social media since the game, I think the consensus is that Solanke is expected to solve a lot of these problems, and until he's fit and playing for us, we're gonna struggle to find out. I guess we're just, I think he got into some really good positions against Leicester. He just didn't have that goal scoring touch. Everton would have been perfect for him. I actually think this Newcastle game would have been perfect for him as well. He's going to come back in, likely against Arsenal, and it's going to be really, really tough against one of the best teams in the league, one of the best defences. It's going to be really, really tough for him. So we'll see. We just need to be patient, and when it clicks, we'll be on fire, for sure. Jamie Weir saying here, unpopular opinion, at this stage of the season, we should be far more performance-oriented than result-oriented. Spurs are clearly improving and have played well in all 3 games, even if the points tally doesn't tell that story. Continue playing like that and the wins will come. Do you agree with that? I think I agree with it as well. Like I said a second ago, if it means the first 5 or 6 games, the results don't necessarily go our way, if then it clicks and we get going and we get on a run and all of a sudden everything's going well from like game 7, game 8, then perhaps that's what we have to take. Perhaps that's what we have to see. Very interesting one. But yeah, I mean, I think Spooky the creator has summed up my mood pretty well. Might as well have hope murder me than lose faith. Up the Spurs, you magnificent fools. Very, very fun reaction to the result yesterday. But look, guys, look at the stats. 66% possession, 1.26 expected goals is the killer. Newcastle had more expected goals than us, despite them only having 9 shots compared to our 20. It's the big killer. I've spoke about it the entire stream. We needed to be more clinical. Harvey Barnes gets man of the match for them. Our defence didn't get great ratings. saying the medical team needs to be fired, not good enough. It's always something, isn't it? There's always an injury problem somewhere. Odegaard saying played well, Maddison okay, Ibasuma, Sonny, just pretty average ratings from the boys. Brennan Johnson got a great rating when he came on. But we just have to be more clinical. We have to be better in the positions that we get in. We have to regroup over the international break. I think that made me mad as Newcastle were horrible, 100%. I said it in my post-match reaction, my instant reaction. Newcastle were there for the taking. They were not very good, and Tottenham should have won the game. That's the point. Tottenham should have won that game against Newcastle. It should have been more comfortable. But we didn't. We lost. We have to take our medicine, and we have to regroup over the international break and get over it. I like doing this because after the game, I'll record my initial sort of match reaction is where I'll vent and get my frustrations and my anger out. And then the day after the game, I quite like coming on and doing these live streams and actually breaking the game down, because we can take the negatives and we can take the positives and we can sort of have the balance over everything. And we can see the performance overall was good yesterday, but we just couldn't score. With Solanke back in the team, would things have been different? Most likely. With Van de Ven back in the team, would they have scored their second goal? Probably more unlikely. But it's a very, very interesting one. Yeah, just got to take our medicine. 2-week break now for Ange to work with these players, get the decision making dialed in. Yeah, exactly, Matthew. When Newcastle clicked, they made the most out of it. We didn't. 100% agree with that. But it's Arsenal next, and then we've got some really tough games still coming up. Newcastle is out of the way. Then we'll have Arsenal out of the way. We'll get Man United out of the way soon as well. I think we've got West Ham soon. So it doesn't get any easier for us. But I'm confident that if we carry on playing like this, things will click, especially when we have the players back in the positions that we need. But yeah, guys, look, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to go get some lunch because I'm starving. I'm sure you guys have had enough of me talking for nearly an hour anyway. Really, really appreciate everybody that's come to the stream as usual. It's always great to vent and break down and analyse things with you. Get you guys involved in the comments and have some great conversations. So thank you everyone that came along and contributed in the comments, every single one of you. Appreciate the kind words, Matty. I don't mind doing the preparation because, you know, it gives me better perspective on the matches. Neil saying you booked my European away trip yet? Not yet. I haven't, because I want to go. All of our away games though are at 5:45 p.m. in the afternoon. Gross. But I will look into it a little bit more. But yeah, really appreciate it, guys. TJ saying we don't have the football IQ on the pitch. Perhaps, but we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks and the next few games. If we get some results against some of the bigger teams, then perhaps the opinions will change. But yeah, appreciate it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll have some videos out for you, I'm sure, across the week. So make sure you tune into those. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate every single one of you. Like the video as well. And yeah, as I say, enjoy the week. And